So let's delve more into the legal implications that Donald Trump is facing now. We're welcoming in trial attorney and legal analyst Mist Marris for this. Misty, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, in your legal opinion, how badly can Trump's comments about the case potentially hurt him when it comes to a trial?
Well, as we've seen in all of the cases that have been playing out in the media, and most recently the Carroll civil case in New York, anything that's out there in the public sphere becomes fair game when it comes into the courtroom. So in that particular case, that was a civil case. There was a damages award that was given, and now that plaintiff is seeking $10 million more in damages based on subsequent comments made. So, of course, anything said outside the courtroom that is public can come in. There's no expectation of privacy. So his lawyers are going to want to be very careful about towing that line of what could potentially be damaging in balancing that with setting forth his defense, which what he said thus far, to me, this is what I would have expected him to say based on what we know his defense is going to be.
You know, Misty, we just heard moments ago from former Illinois governor and convicted felon Rod Blagojevich. What do you make of his comments regarding the case against the former president?
So I believe that he articulated what the defenses are expected to be, and I would put them in three buckets. I would say the first bucket is going to be Donald Trump will argue that the documents he retained, he had the ability to declassify them. So that's going to be number one. We heard him say this at the Waffle House today. He didn't do anything wrong. He did everything by the book. Then we're going to hear number two. We're going to hear this as a politically motivated attack. And that's why he is being prosecuted when there have been other similar cases or similar instances that have not been. And then the third component of this will be, what about all those other people, and are you going to go and prosecute them as well? So that idea of selective prosecution is going to be central to the defense, and I think that's what Mr. Blagojevich was setting forth. Whether or not that rules the day is a completely different question, and will really depend on whether or not the evidence that ultimately makes it into the courtroom is reflective of what we see in that indictment.
Yeah,
We're at the beginning stages.
With how strong some of this evidence looks, I mean, how powerful is that three-bucket defense you just mentioned?
So to me, the thing about this particular indictment that's unique from anything else is that there was an order that the attorneys for Donald Trump testify, and much of the testimony of his attorneys is set forth in the indictment. And therefore, you know, when you're speaking to your attorneys, you're the most candid. That's the place where everything is laid out on the table. So to that extent, we really have a vision into the intent. And as I've said from the beginning, Natasha, we've been talking about this for a while. It's not the crime. It's not necessarily having the documents. It's the cover-up. It's the willful. It's the conspiracy. It's the moving the boxes. So those components of this indictment are very, very damaging to the president's case, provided that the evidence supports what we see in this document. There's a long road ahead to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt, but just on its face, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up. That's going to be the issue.
I want to ask your opinion on the comments from William Barr, the former attorney general under the Trump administration. Just today, he's calling the Justice Department's case against Trump, quote, damning, adding that he thinks the charges under the Espionage Act in particular are warranted. Let's take a quick listen.
I think the counts under the Espionage Act, that he willfully retained those documents, are solid counts. Now, I do think we have to wait and see what the defense says and what proves to be true. But I do think that even half what Andy McCarthy said, which is if even half of it is true, then he's toast.
Do you agree with Barr's assessment of the most severe counts?
I think if this is in fact true, then it's going to be a problem to overcome with any defense, the willful act and the actual trying to conceal these documents. As far as the Espionage Act is concerned, I think that the president is going to say he had the ability to declassify these documents. We need to go through every single document individually, because that's a different standard. His own personal communications might fall into one bucket, but military secrets, nuclear weapon information, all of that is a completely different analysis. So there's a lot of prongs here, but I do think that a lot of this, if true, again, it's the willful movement of the documents, the concealment, that's what's going to be the nail in the coffin if in fact the evidence reflects what this indictment says.
Okay, Mist Marris, thank you so much. It's always good to see you. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.